Hello, everyone. Thanks for watching. This is David Hopper, Austin Bureau Chief of 360degreesound.com. In this installment of our South by Southwest Artist Spotlight series, I'm joined by Josh Stirm, a songwriter, multi-instrumentalist, and lead singer of the Austin-based indie rock band, the Juniper Berries. The Juniper Berries will be performing a South by Southwest showcase set Wednesday, March 13th at 8 p.m. at the Lowdown Lounge on East 6th in Austin. Their forthcoming album, Death in Taxes, is due out April 19th. Josh, thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Is Sturm the correct pronunciation for your last name, or?
Yeah, you got
Okay,
it.
cool. Great. Well, yeah, so I understand you're originally from the Pacific Northwest. Is that right? Or
Yeah,
yeah.
I grew up in a town called Rogue River, and then most recently up there, I lived in a town called Ashland.
Oh yeah, I know Ashland, yeah. Cool. So so I guess everyone's probably asked you this, but what brought you to Austin, and how do you like it here so far?
Let's see. Initially, I came here because I was working at a studio in El Paso, Sonic Ranch, for a little bit, and it was like an internship, and kind of had an end date baked in. And then I knew I wanted to move somewhere else. And like other than the Northwest, I just kind of wanted to spread my wings a little bit. Met some people at the studio that, said, "Hey, you should come visit Austin." And then I did, and just, fell in love with it, and then moved here shortly after.
Awesome. And what year was that when you moved here?
It was the very, very end of 2019, basically 2020. It was like December 2019.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, I wonder if you could tell us about the origin of the Juniper Berries. I understand you're the, primary songwriter. It's basically your project. Kind of how long have you been making music under the Juniper Berries?
It's been a while now. I think we started playing shows as Juniper Berries in like 2017, I want to say 2016, 2017. Um, it's gone through a lot of iterations. Initially, it was just kind of me recording like acoustic guitar songs on like a 4 track, and it was kind of the side project from this like punk band I had when I was in college. And then, we started gigging, and it became, there was like drums and bass and all kinds of things. Um, so yeah, it started around then. And I think kind of the main thing that I always think about it, because it's shifted over the years so much, like what kind of music I want to make, and what we sound like live. And obviously I moved from the Northwest to here. I really think of it as like sort of a shelf for my songwriting. I might have other forays into other projects and writing different things with different people, but Juniper Berries is first and foremost kind of my safe space to experiment and try new stuff out. And
Mhm. Cool. So what all instruments do you play?
um the classic rock ones, bass, keyboard, guitar, mostly guitar and bass, although I've been improving a lot at keyboards. And I play a lot of like weird random things like on recordings where I wouldn't, call myself like a cellist. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? But
Yeah.
if I have like there's like some little part and there's a cello around, I can, kind of figure it out.
Yeah. Yeah. Cool. Yeah. So it might be hard to describe your own music, but for the people who haven't heard you and who ask you about Juniper Berries, like how do you kind of describe the sound?
Let's see. My cheeky answer is I tell people that we're a Christian metal band. Um, but no, that's that's silly. We usually like, I don't know, like live. Usually it's in like a live context when I'm telling people like what we sound like. And live, it's pretty. Some of the songs are like pretty soft, but there's a lot of energy generally, and it's pretty loud. And I think of myself as kind of like really a lyrics forward songwriter.
Mhm.
So like lyrics are a big part of it. Um, and the melodically, like I'm really influenced by stuff from the 60s, like classic pop, like the Beach Boys and the Beatles and stuff like that. But then I feel like for the instrumentation, I lean more towards like 90s rock, like classic indie rock stuff like Modest Mouse and Built to Spill and Pavement. You know, uh, Also like a little more like 60s garage stuff. 70s power pop's been really big to me lately. I've been listening to bands like the Raspberries a lot.
Yeah.
Um, so it's like kind of a smattering of different rock stuff, but um, yeah, and some like noise stuff in there. Like Thurston Moore was kind of my gateway to the electric guitar. Like Sonic Youth really like kind of blew my mind wide open when I was a kid, and so a little bit of all that stuff.
Yeah, yeah, that's interesting you say power pop because I think that's how I found you on the site. I was just like, what are the power pop bands? And you're under that tag. Um, but yeah, like the Raspberries are great. I feel like they're a bit underrated. It seems like more people talk about Big Star, which is also a great band, but there was a lot of great power pop throughout the '70s. But they were kind of seemed to be kind of the front runners that or kind of a bigger wave later in the '70s, but they were highly influential. So are you okay with the power pop tag or?
Yeah, totally. I
Yeah,
mean, I
cool.
I feel like I didn't really know what power pop was for a long time, but in the last couple years, I've been listening to more and more. I was listening to, that band, The Glands. They're like a
I've heard of
80s,
them.
90s. I think
Okay.
they're from like Atlanta or something,
Okay.
somewhere in the South. But they're sort of like Pavement crossed with Big Star or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And I always knew Big Star was power pop, but then, I was really into the Glands, and everyone referred to them as, or like Teenage Fan Club.
Mm-hmm.
Like, like I think that's my favorite stuff is like the 90s kind of indie rock stuff
Mm-hmm.
that's trying to sound like Big Star.
Yeah, yeah,
Uh, you know, I like to consider myself the third in that continuum. But yeah, power pop's great. I
yeah,
think expanding definition too, for sure.
yeah, yeah. No, that the that's kind of that '90s wave revival kind of. Yeah, I love Teenage Fan Club, also the Posies,
Oh,
Matthew
yeah.
Sweet, like a whole bunch of them. But yeah, that would be cool to see it, you know, come back. um, Yeah, on your Instagram, I saw it said Townsend Van Zant with the fuzz pedal, which is that's high praise. Is that something someone said or wrote, or is that like a self description?
Yeah, it was like I'm trying to remember. I can't remember who it was, but I was emailing with some publicists dealing with like our new record coming out like a few months ago, and I was kind of like talking to different people about if they wanted to represent the band and whatever. And somebody said that he was like, "Yeah, the guitar playing kind of reminds me of George Harrison," which is crazy. I mean, such high praise.
Yeah,
And he was like, "It kind of sounds like Towns Van Zant with like a fuzz pedal or something." And I was like, "Oh my God, that's great.
yeah,
That's going in the bio
yeah,
immediately."
right. Nice. But yeah, I wonder if you could tell us a little about your upcoming album, Death and Taxes. You've released three singles from it. I understand this came after you had lost some loved ones. If you want to talk a little bit about how the album explores like grief and loss and how it kind of contributed to your writing.
Yeah, it was sort of, there had been like a lot of kind of a lot of loss sort of in my family and stuff, and I had just moved to Austin, and it just sort of like, I don't know, I feel like I had this period of just sort of like trying to sift through all that stuff, and I just wrote like a million songs. I was writing like a song every day, which I write a lot, but not usually that much, for several months. And kind of when I was piecing it together, after it sort of just all flowed out, it was all very like quickly written. And I just kind of started noticing like, it's sort of like when work is like really hard for you or something, if you're going through something stressful, and in the moment you're like, yeah, there's no way this is impacting the rest of my life, like no way. But then in hindsight, I was listening to all these songs I'd written, around that time, and I was like, oh man, yeah, obviously there's a lot of grieving going on, and that seeped its way into the material. Um, but yeah, I kind of, I don't know, I don't want to say too much, but yeah, it was sort of written during that time as a way to deal with everything, and yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Um, yeah, so I understand Walk Home is the latest single. Cool track. You got some lot of guitar distortion and feedback and delay. I wonder if you maybe give us a little insight on like the pedals you're using as well as the production involved in that song.
Oh yeah, I'm so glad you asked. I figured out this like weird, like kind of experimental thing to do for the guitar on that song, that I would love to talk about.
Yeah.
Um, but that one, it's like it's my Music Man 210. I think it's the 130 is the amp, and I was using my Jazz Master, I believe. Pretty much all my fuzz tone that I get is from the Swollen Pickle. The I can't remember the company that makes it. But yeah, if you Google Swollen Pickle fuzz pedal, you'll find out what it Way Huge, I think is what it's called. And what we did is I did one take of the guitar solo through the fuzz pedal, like with my guitar, like right up on the amp, like getting it to feedback and everything. And then we got a DI signal of that guitar in, and we saved that on the computer, like after the pedal, but before the amp. And then we flipped the phase and reamped it again, and then put both of those takes in the song, and it just creates this like super wide, crazy guitar thing. And it was kind of an experiment. We didn't know if it was going to work, but it ended up sounding great.
Yeah. No, it sounds awesome. That's cool. There's a cool book called Stomp Box. I interviewed the author a few years ago. I think you would like it. It's like basically like all these it's just all about pedals, and it's like photos of these pedals, and like it's got like Jay Mascis, Dinosaur Jr., like all these guitar players just talking about their pedals, and it's cool. It's a cool book.
That sounds cool.
Yeah.
And I'd love to learn more. There's so much, like, I don't know. I have a lot of friends, like Robert, the bass player in Juniper Berries, is like a huge like gearhead, and he knows about like the first fuzz pedal ever, and he knows all that stuff. And I know a little bit, but I would love to. Yeah, I'll have to check that out.
Yeah,
I would
yeah.
love to learn more about kind of the history of it and
Yeah,
everything.
yeah. Yeah, just a few more questions. Yeah, just so this will be your first time playing South by, is that right?
Yeah, we've done like unofficial stuff before, but this is the first South by official that we've done.
Cool. Yeah, just kind of what you hope to get out of your official South by experience.
Just hopefully people come.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'll be there. I'm looking forward to the gig. I just wondered, like, is there terms of like, I understand you're on a record label, but is there any like, are you looking for like a management or booking agent or anything like that, or?
Yeah, we're very much looking for a booking agent right now. I
Mhm.
feel like we just had a meeting with our label the other day. We're like planning out a couple tours, and we have some hometown shows, and right after South by we're going up to Boise to play Tree Fort. There's a couple other festival things sort of in the works. Um, and yeah, we just feel like it's about that time where we should find somebody to help with booking. So definitely a booking agent is number one priority right now.
Yeah. I was wondering what your live shows are like, kind of what you can say about your gigs and maybe how it's different than the record.
Yeah, I feel like the live shows are, you know, much more wild than like this record in particular is very like sort of somber. And I mean there's some like crazy moments in it too, but it's a little more introspective. But live, we get a lot noisier and a lot louder, and just it's a lot crazier. And there's only the one guitar live, so on the recording I do two guitars a lot of the time, but so we change the arrangements a little bit too. So yeah, it's interesting. I like changing the songs a little bit for live and leaving room for like a little improvisation, but the melody and the lyrics are obviously the same and the structure, but just, adding little embellishments and stuff to just kind of kick it up a notch or two.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I guess. Well, finally, I wanted to ask about the name Juniper Berries. Well, just the first thing I thought of was gin. Obviously, Juniper. Just wondering.
Would be the first.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Just wondering. If you were a gin drinker, and if so, do you have a favorite gin cocktail?
Oh, um, I don't really drink gin very much, but we did design a juniper berries cocktail once
Oh,
for a show, which I would love to share the recipe. I'm trying to get my goal is to at some point get a with a booking agent or something, try and get bars to agree to serve it at our shows.
yeah.
But it's gin, whatever kind. I think we used Bombay Sapphire or something.
Uh-huh.
You do a shot of gin, a shot of the mint flavored Gayaki yerba mate, 2 shots of juniper flavored dry soda, ice, and a lime. Not a lemon, but a lime.
Oh man, sounds great. I love that yerba mate drink. It's so good. Yeah,
Like that.
yeah. That sounds really good. Well,
Yeah, it's
hopefully,
great.
yeah, hopefully you can get that on the menu.
Yeah,
Well, yeah,
yeah,
yeah, thanks so much, Josh. Appreciate you chatting with us, and yeah, best of luck at South by.
yeah. Thanks, man. Hope to see you there.
Yeah, looking forward to it. All right,
All
take
right.
care.
Yeah, you
Bye.
too. Bye bye.